Hey guys, Nick here with the Evolving Angler Podcast. Today I'm going to do a full review on my Nucanoe Unlimited, how I've got it rigged, and we'll show you all about it in just a moment. But first of all, I want to give a huge shout out to Strictly Sail and Kayak in Cincinnati, Ohio. If you're looking for a kayak, especially a Nucanoe, they have Hobie, Nucanoe, Feel Free, Three Water, Old Towns, and even Jackson's now. If you're looking for a kayak, they have an awesome selection. Amazing prices, awesome customer service. The Tasty family has been in the game for years and years, and they know what they're doing. So if you're in the market for a kayak or kayak accessories, be sure to check out Strictly Sail and Kayak. Okay guys, once again, this is going to be a full review on my Nucanoe Unlimited from bow to stern. And I'm going to run through everything real quick and kind of show you how I got it rigged. All right, start with the bow. See here, I've got the Minn Kota Terrova. It's a 24 volt, 80 pound thrust motor. Now, I used to have the Minn Kota Power Drive V2. Nothing against Motor Guide. Motor Guide's great motors. I'm a Minn Kota guy. So I had the Power Drive V2. It's 12 volt, 55 pound thrust. I was running two 109 amp hour 12 volt lead acid batteries in the back, which was around 100 pounds of battery. That's pretty crazy. So I had an option to upgrade, and I did. I bought a Terrova. It's 24 volt. As a lot of you know, it doesn't pull as many amps, and it's just I get a lot more distance, a little bit of speed, maybe a mile an hour, but mile and a half. But I get a lot more thrust, a lot more distance out of this 24 volt, 80 pound thrust Terrova. I get about 5.5 miles an hour. On my Power Drive V2, I got about 3.8. The Minn Kota Terrova comes with a foot pedal and a remote option, which I liked. I like to stand and fish. If you've heard me talk on the podcast, etc., you know that I like to stand and fish. It's that bass boat kind of aspect of kayak fishing that I like. I cannot stand to sit down and fish. It seems like my shoulders just start killing me. So anyway, having the foot control option as well as the remote is awesome. I feel like the remote steers it a little bit cleaner than the foot control. The foot control is a little more sensitive, so if I tap it left, it's going to turn, the head's going to turn quite a bit left. If I tap the remote, it's really small increments, and so I'm able to steer and go. If I'm going hundreds and hundreds of yards or a mile or two or three down the lake, I'm definitely using my remote. From that, we're going to move on to the gear pod that Nucanoe makes. I love the gear pod. I love the option of removing this if I want to have a second person here. It gives them a lot more leg room, or keeping it on here. I've got my nav lights, my red and green nav lights for when I run my motor. I've also got the ability to store stuff, have my electronic batteries in here, my yak power system right here. Running my electronics, I'll get to that in just a second. I have two amped outdoor 12 volt 30 amp hour batteries to run both Humminbird head units. If you know about Humminbird, they will drink the juice, as they say. So these two 30 amp hour lithium batteries run both head units well over a day. It's plenty for, say, a tournament. I have no questions that these are going to run these two head units, no problem. Up front here, I've got some tools, power cord, zip ties, black tape, extra lights, nav lights in case I need them. Just never know. So I like to keep some tools with me in case my trolling motor goes out or I got to fix something on here. I've got my wiring from my electronics head unit to here. I'm going to fix all that a little bit better later on. Run the power cables through a little notch here that I cut out in the gear pod. I don't get any water in it. It doesn't affect anything. It's just to take the pressure from the lid off of the cables, and I just run them straight from my head units here and hook them up, no problem. But I got my tools, my electronics, my yak power system, which I'm going to have all this on eventually, like I said. Another cool thing about the gear pod is it has rail option where you can attach some stuff. And here I've attached my catch board mount with my polycarbonate catch board. I've had this thing for years. It's kind of sentimental to me. Put a lot of fish on that board. All right, moving forward, I've got the dashboard Excel that Nucanoe makes that has a variety of options with it. You can put a catch board holder on there. I have rod holders that sometimes I'll put in here and take my head units off. Say I'm catfishing somewhere, I don't need my electronics. Sometimes I do. It just depends on what I'm doing. But there's a lot of options you can do with this dashboard. And as you can see here, I've mounted both my Humminbird head units on it. These are Helix 9s. I've got the Mega Side, which includes down imaging, and then the Mega Down. I didn't need two sides. I'm able to share and network these, so I can have side imaging on this, I can have down and maps on this, or down, 2D and chirp, and whatever I want. Mapping, you name it, I can have all that option on my head unit. A 9-inch screen, it's not bad, when you're splitting, say, side and down imaging, but having the ability to have down on a 9-inch screen, side on a 9-inch screen, clarity's a little bit better, it's easier to see things, and especially when you're fishing out in the sun, it's a game changer to me that allows me to see my structure better, see my fish better, running 2 9-inch screens. And personally, I don't think it's overload. It's a really good size for the kayak. They're not sticking up too high, out too far. They're not in the way of my casting at all. And they fit perfectly on the dashboard. Looking down, I've got my Nucanoe Terrova foot pedal. This thing's kind of cool. I mean, you got your throttle option there. You got your throttle option left, right here. Basically, all I use is my foot. There's my toes, and I'll just steer it from here. You got your continuous option, your autopilot, your spot lock, and of course your speed. One thing about the Unlimited, it is a big boat, but it disperses water well, and it sits pretty high in the water column. So it does trek better than what a lot of people think a 12.5 foot long, 41-inch wide kayak would. As you can see, the Unlimited has this decking, which I'm going to complete soon. This stuff is awesome. It makes it a lot quieter if you drop tools or something in the kayak, and it doesn't have that loud thump. And overall, your footing and your grip's a lot better on that compared to just standing on plastic. As you move over here to the side, I have the Anchor Wizard, which I will run back real quick. Shout out to my buddy for giving me this. I don't know if it's going to be too big or not. I know that fishing rivers, I use a lot smaller chain. I usually put bicycle inner tube over top of them. It just keeps them from really locking into rocks and getting you stuck. And honestly, it doesn't take much chain to hold a kayak back in the river. So all my river guys know what I'm talking about. This might be a little big, but I'm going to try it, at least in our local river. And in the lake, I don't really need it a lot because we have spot lock, but this is my Anchor Wizard system for now. Moving right along. So another friend of mine let me borrow these. These are rod holders that actually fit pretty perfect on these rails. Sit right up against this, and I can put a couple rods here. If I'm fishing, I land a fish, I need to set my rod there. Pretty cool. River fishing, I don't pack many rods, and so I might have a couple here. And I don't like to go vertical with my rods when I'm fishing the river because of overhangs and things. It's just not a good idea. But I can put a couple rods here and maybe lay one more, or fish with one and put two here, and that's plenty for me usually when I'm fishing the creeks and rivers here. This Anchor Wizard system is pretty awesome. Turn it left one time, you can hear my chain fall, and it has no problem picking up that heavy chain to the back. So this Anchor Wizard system is pretty daggone awesome, and I definitely recommend it. Coming to this side, as you can see, you got two really awesome storage, built-in storage compartments here. I could throw a tackle box or two, or some fishing line, some tools, pliers, scissors, whatever, things that I think I might be using for the day. I can put right there. Also, sometimes I use these little holes in this dashboard to put some tools and scissors and pliers sometimes. So, it's a little hack. Then I got a cup holder, which ends up being a catch-all. I'll throw a drink in there from time to time, but usually it's a catch-all. Another thing I like about the Unlimited is these easy access compartments. You pop those off, you can drill into the hull, whatever, and it's a pretty cool idea. So underneath my seat, as you can see, one of the low budget things that I have is a little tote that I keep a lot of soft plastics in. This thing fits, I forget the exact size, but you can get them at Walmart, and holds a lot of stuff. I can actually fit 2 of those under there. Just have one right now, but all I gotta do is pull that out, grab whatever soft plastics I'm needing, and I can just slide it back under there and it's out of the way. Another awesome thing is these little things, $4 at Lowe's, also hold soft plastics. I've got one here for like my more finesse stuff, and then I've got one behind the seat for tools. I've got bug spray, sunscreen, and just some various things I might need there as well. I'm going to move back forward here and show you one other awesome thing, which I think is one of the best things Nucanoe has ever came out with, which is a scupper hole transducer retract system. Now this thing holds my Humminbird electronics, my transducer. Like I said, I run the side imaging transducer. I'll network this head unit to that one, and I only have to have one transducer, and this thing is awesome. It's got a little guard underneath it. I'll show pictures and video of that. It's got a little guard under it, so if you run over a stick up or a rock or whatever, that it will actually push your transducer up into the recess of a kayak that's built for that transducer, so that your transducer isn't harmed. And so I've been fishing rivers and lakes for a little bit now, and I can say I don't have any scuffs on my transducer yet, knock on wood. Nothing happens, but it's pretty awesome. You just simply pop that and it drops down in there. You lift it up and put the cable in this cleat, and it holds it right there, no problem. And this cable actually does not get in my way. I've just kind of ran it up through this under my foot pedal and up that way, and so doesn't get in the way. It just sits in the recess of this drainage system, and pretty easy, simple install. I do want to talk about this drainage system too, because this thing drains well. I'll insert some video of me on Lake Cumberland earlier this year where we were having 40-mile-an-hour winds, and I was in the back of a cove and I was facing the wind. Had to go out of this cove, which was about a mile long, into the wind, and then go left about 2 miles across the wind, across the lake. Man, it was pretty rough. But as fast as water was coming in, it was draining out. This tarpon drainage system and these scupper holes are awesome, and this boat really shines when you're taking on water. Huge shout out to Kayak Cushion and these Strictly Sail and Kayak custom cushions. Man, these things are a lifesaver if you sit and fish. I don't like to sit a lot, but man, these things are definitely comfortable, and I recommend a kayak cushion of some sort. I'm not sure what firmness this is, but once again, huge shout out to Strictly Sail and Kayak. They hooked me up with one of their custom kayak cushions, and I couldn't be happier. Moving right along, we've got the 360 seat. Now, I'm not able to swivel this where I've got my black pack against it. I have plenty of room to move it back and I could swivel it, but I just haven't done it, and I probably need to. But I can literally just sit sideways and put my feet here, put my feet over the side while I'm traveling somewhere, and just lean back and relax. This seat is awesome with and without the kayak cushion, but the ability to swivel all the way around and get in your gear if you need to is just fantastic. Coming back here, I've got my black pack that I custom painted. It's just a little bit of spray paint and a sponge, so nothing fancy, but it holds all my gear. And huge shout out to Yak Attack for an awesome system. You don't have to worry about losing rods if you was to flip or anything. Keep a net back here as well. It's out of the way. It's pretty awesome, and I'll move that for the sake of the video. Come back here, open this up, and you can see all the gear that I have. It's a little messy right now. I've been fishing, but this thing holds a lot of tackle, and this is the 13 by 16. So once again, shout out to Yak Attack. They did a really good job designing this pack. It is absolutely kick tail and well worth the money. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rod holders. I know people that have 8 and 9. Just depends on how you want to put them on there. This thing can hold a lot of rods and a lot of gear. Well worth the money. Moving on back, got my battery for my motor. I ran wire through the hole from the front for the motor, and I don't know if I showed you that, but I've got my plug here in another place that Nucanoe has for hole access. Cut out there, put my plug in, ran wire to the back, and this is another Amped Outdoors battery, and it is a 24 volt 50 amp hour battery. Now this thing is much lighter than the two 109 amp hour 12 volt batteries I was running. Like I said, those were around 100 pounds for those two to run my 12 volt and to be able to last all day, really, if I was wanting to make a long run. Now intermittent trolling wasn't a big deal, but if I wanted to make a 2-mile run up the lake, it just didn't seem like those batteries held up very long, and I was losing power fast, so I ran 2 of them. And then when I went to the 24 volt, I was actually running those two 12s in tandem for 24 volt up until I got this battery. This battery is like 26 pounds, I think, 24, 26 pounds. Man, I can't say enough about Amped Outdoors. They knocked it out of the park with this battery. Super light, a lot of power, and I went just under 11 miles with this battery on high, on 10, with my 24 volt, 80 pound thrust Terrova in about 2.5 hours or so. I went around 11 miles on high. Now, if I dropped that to 8, I was able to go around 17 miles, I think. It's like 7 or 8, and I didn't lose much speed, maybe a half mile an hour. So it's a pretty big difference in distance compared to maintaining about the same speed. So lithium is definitely the way to go, and I highly suggest Amped Outdoors. They have awesome batteries, awesome customer service, and awesome warranty. As far as my life vest, I run the NRS Chinook. Nothing fancy about it. Got my battery box here, which my wiring runs back to my plug that Nucanoe has a indentation for. All you got to do is just drill out. They've already got everything marked for you and recessed for you, but they made it really easy to know where to put this thing, and it works out perfectly. So battery pack, black pack, and plenty of room back here if I want to throw a cooler here or back here. This thing, I actually changed this part out. This is not the original from Nucanoe, but I had this laying around, and it comes with a bag. So I decided to install it and put that bag in here. I haven't actually put it in here yet, but you can see my wiring going back to the plug. Another cool feature about the Unlimited is this handle in the back, which makes it very convenient to carry this kayak around. I'll end with talking about the stability of this kayak. Guys, I have been in a lot of kayaks, and I have never been in one this stable. The Unlimited, the F12, those two are really, really stable kayaks. Of course, the F10 is very stable. That's a kayak I had before this. But now you do lose a little bit because it's not quite as long. But the F10 is probably the most stable 10-foot kayak on the market, and I would argue with anybody about that. This kayak allows me to stand on it, walk on it, turn, fish off the side, fish off the back, fish off the front, and not be worried about flipping. That is a big deal for me. It also allows you to have a couple people on it and be extremely stable as well. So guys, if you're in the market for a kayak, look no further than Nucanoe Kayaks. This is the Unlimited. They have a lot of great boats. They have a lot of good boats for the rivers and creeks for smaller water. They have a lot of great boats for bigger water like the Unlimited. Be sure to holler at Strictly Sail and Kayak in Cincinnati, Ohio. Give them a call, 513-984-1907. And be sure to tell them I sent you. Tell them you want a Nucanoe kayak.